hands up for the world. And Joseph didn't lie down with the girl.
Today's Thursday episode. We want to talk to all the couples out there, the single couples, who are trying to make hard decisions on marriage or your future with your boo. Well, Valentine's Day is behind us now. And so now all the fluff and all the hype around love has settled, and it's time for us in these serious relationships to ask ourselves, do we really fit together? Do we really belong together? You have to ask yourself those questions. And how better to make that decision than looking at the Word of God? 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 gives us some guidance on the temperature test of any relationship as far as compatibility. Let's look at verse 14, 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. It says, do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? And what communion has light with darkness? Friends, it's very clear. Oil and water do not mix well together. And that's what so many of our relationships are trying to do. But today I want to provide an extreme example to show you why you ought to make sure you fit together. Take a look at this.
But if you're single, that means you got to be careful with who you allow to yoke yourself with. In other words, when you yoke up, it's about two individuals trying to see if they fit together. The whole purpose of dating is to see if we fit together. Now let me show you the problem of people yoking together that don't fit. Let me show you what happened. This is a shirt that I had a hard time putting on at 9 o'clock, and I'm going to try it again. This is a shirt that wasn't designed for me. Matter of fact, it was designed for my little 4-year-old daughter. But I want to wear the shirt. I think this is about the best I'm going to be able to do right here. I almost needed 911 to take it off her. This is about the best I'm going to do. Now, you see how silly I look up here? John, don't you zoom in on me. You see how crazy I look up here? Some of you in your relationship, this is how you've been your whole relationship. You wanted him so bad. God said he didn't fit, but here you are for 10 years. God, you said you never put more on me than I can bear. God, I know you can do it. Go ahead and change this man so I can marry him. I wish I had some help up in here. See, the problem is, if it don't fit, you got to take it off. Give that to somebody else who it does fit. Because God didn't make that for you. And the problem is so many of us want him or her so bad, we try to squeeze him or her to God's plan for our life. As you can tell, ain't going to be no hooping today. We just talking today. We just talking. But we learn, my brothers and sisters, from this lesson that so many people in our Christian relationships are trying to make it work with people who don't fit what God has planned for your life. And so today you ought to ask yourself one important question. How's your mate fitting you?
In this example, it's obvious that I'll do myself great harm by trying to complete the process of putting that tight shirt on my big old body. How do you look in your relationship? Are you trying to squeeze somebody in your life that God does not want to be in your life? The real question is, do you really fit together? If you keep reading 2 Corinthians chapter 6, if you go down to verse 18, you'll find that the Word of God says, if you fit together, God will be your father. He will receive you. He will be your father. And what does that mean? That means God will bless your relationship. God's hands will be on it. God will bless you. He will guide you. He will stretch you. He'll give both of you what you need. But when God is not in the relationship, so there's no wonder your relationship is saturated with havoc and headache. But today I challenge you to ask yourself the serious question. Do you and your partner really fit together? Or are you just together because of the years of history and the fact that you have kids together or whatever else? Or maybe you just don't want to be by yourself. If you really want God's best, don't allow somebody to come into what God has placed in your life and mess all that up for you. Today I challenge you to ask yourself, do you really fit together? If not, as Johnny Cochran says, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Well, that's all our time for today. Until next time.
After the child was born, so sound the alarm. So Jordan tried to warn everyone.